Grr, I'm a badger.
Hey everyone, it is the Angry Honey Badger here, and it is time for another champion build video today. I'm going to be playing as Ezreal. Ever since they changed around the ADCs, I was holding off a little bit while they worked on those items and just some of the balance issues that they kind of made for ADCs over the past few months towards the middle ending part of Season 4. But now that most of those are in place, I'm going to start trying to play ADC a little bit more. I personally think I'm terrible at it. Just compared to everything else I play, but you know, nonetheless, we'll make some videos for it. So, starting off, we're gonna go with Ezreal, and we're gonna talk about his abilities at the start of this video. So, that's what we know what we're talking about. We're also gonna cover his runes and his masteries and the items you wanna play and some pros and cons when it comes to playing as Ezreal. So, starting off with his passive, it is the Rising Spell Force. Hitting a target with any of Ezreal's abilities increases his attack speed by 10% for 5 seconds. You can stack this up to 5 times, which is one of his pros, actually. It's that he has the attack speed buff steroid built in, which means you really don't have to build a lot of attack speed. Granted, this has multiple meanings to what I've just said, so we'll go over that in a second. Because of a few reasons for different choices within the build. We'll go over it in just a little bit. So, starting off with his other abilities, though, his Q ability is what you're going to take at level 1, and you're going to max this out. First, this is your Mystic Shot. Ezreal fires a bolt of energy. It does deal damage. It scales from attack, damage, and ability power. Some people have maybe seen AP as it's kind of interesting. It's not really amazing, but it is a thing, kind of. His stuff builds, or most of his things scale from ability, power, and attack damage, and we'll talk about the two more in depth as the game goes on. But you're gonna hit people, it's gonna then deal physical damage to them. Like I said, we're gonna go ahead and snag an Italy here and get her low. We're gonna get knocked back a little bit and take a little bit of damage, but then we're just gonna do a quick little flash Q and pick up the kill, which is helpful. But back to that Mystic Shot quick. If you hit an enemy, it also reduces your cooldowns by 1 second. It also triggers on hit effects, which is very important. We'll talk more about that too in the future. At level 2, put a point into your Arcane Shift. That is when Ezreal teleports to a target location wherever he wants. If it's close to an enemy, it will fire a little bolt and it will hit them. It does magic damage. We put a point in this early because this is very helpful. It's like having a flash, really, a built-in small flash on about a 19 to 11 second cooldown. Very helpful. Here we're getting a gank from the Nautilus. That is just a crowd control mess for Draven to live in, and they're going to let me pick up the kill because they're very friendly. Hooray. Which is also awesome, actually. So getting Ezreal going is very important. We'll also talk about that, because that's kind of a con coming in. Like I said, we'll cover all these things. We just want to go over abilities first. At level 3, put a point, I don't know, back into your Q. And then at level 4, put a point into your Essence Flux. Ezreal fires a wave of energy. It goes through minions. It will hit champions. It can hit friendly champions as well. And it will give, well, what it'll do is it'll deal magic damage. While allied champions it hits through them, they will get increased attack speed for the next few seconds. So go ahead and hit your allies with this when you guys are all attacking turrets, or hit enemies with this to kill them. So that is your Essence Flux. You're going to max that out last. And then your ultimate is your True Shot Barrage. Ezreal channels for 1 second, then you fire that barrage. It is going to deal magic damage to each unit it hits. It scales from ability, power, and attack damage. However, it deals 10% less damage to each additional unit that it hits. Minimum of 30%. A little bit of a fight. Ezreal is me. Draven is dead. Nidalee is caught. I played safe by standing back. I had the two guys in there. We got the gank. Obviously, they were overextended. And I'll pick up a kill on the Nidalee. And we're off to a fantastic 3-0-1 start. 12 minutes in this game. It's a little lopsided early, although we only have a 2,000 gold lead with 6 kills. But that would be because I'm trying to see where the gold fluctuation difference is. Actually, I'm not farming that well at all, but that's because I have not been playing ADC at all this season, so my last hitting with ADCs is pretty terrible, I will admit. But yeah, those are your abilities. They're pretty awesome. Max Q, then your E, then your W, and your ultimate at level 6, 11, and 16. Now, starting off with our items, Phage is very helpful. You get the health, and you get a little bit of damage. You also get a little bit of bonus movement speed from those auto attacks. And then we pick up the Sheen, because the proc on the Sheen is very important. It gives us that extra damage after we use an ability. Very good stuff. Pick up the first part of our boots. It's kind of fun. You don't really need to do that if you want to rush that Trinity Force even faster, but I'm having a good start, and that is very helpful here. Good hook from Steven. And good escape by Steven as we have bonus roam down, and I pick up a kill and he picks up a kill. So we're just kind of wrecking bot lane. which is good. Like, seriously, 80 carries. The word carry is in it. You want to get them fed. You want to get things going. We're also getting our mid going too. Kyle's doing great. So that is what's happening, and that's what we're trying to do. We're building towards the Trinity Force first, which is very helpful. It's kind of a necessity item on Ezreal because everything you do is a skill shot, and because of the way your cooldowns work, you can pretty much skill shot proc a standard attack with the Sheen. Then you can keep that going and keep repeating that over and over. That's kind of the bread and butter. It's very similar to what you do with Corki and Kog'Maw. And so, yeah, we're going to lock down Draven. Kind of feel bad for him, but that is the combination of two champions with hooks and one that has a gazillion. They both actually, between those two, Thresh and Nautilus, that's a lot of crowd control. So if they land any hook, that target's pretty much dead, which is perfect. That's what you want. You want to lock somebody down. You want to kill them. That is what you want. So yeah, we built the Trinity Force first, and we built the Berserker Greaves for the boots, for the attack speed. Their Draven gets caught out. We don't need two of us. We're just going to go ahead and hit him a few things, and he is dead. Now we are dominating. Very helpful. Good hook once again from Steven. We negated damage too by exhausting Draven immediately as well. So we won't take much retaliation from him. He's not going to try to fight his way out of that. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. Good start though. Like I said, we're off to a fantastic start. We got our Trinity Force finished pretty quick. He actually finishes his Infinity Edge, but I believe Infinity Edge is actually cheaper. 3,800 is Infinity Edge. How much is a Triforce? I don't actually know off the top of my head. 37.03? I think that's how much it is. Oh, actually, it's cheaper. I don't know, whatever. I finished my boots already. And we have a pickaxe. Never mind, we're way ahead. I lied. Anyways, so those are your abilities. Went over those. Now, let's talk actually a little bit about those pros and cons. So, some of the positives and some of the reasons I like playing Ezreal, one of the main ones is that he's a very mobile ADC, having that Essence Flux built in. It can keep yourself safe if you're not, like positive that your support is going to be supportive and can peel. So if you're fearing that like your team can't keep you safe, I think Ezreal is a good pick at keeping yourself safe. You can always kind of just save your flash and your Essence Flux for getting away. You kind of have double flash. So it's very, very helpful, at least in my opinion, when you have to kind of protect yourself as the ADC. So if you can't trust your team, or you're going to lane with a friend who you're like, hey, they're kind of garbage at ADC, or I mean at support, then maybe I want to play a little bit safer and play some Ezreal. Now, a con to this idea, though, is a few things. He is squishy, obviously. He is an ADC. If he doesn't get farmer kills, he is not very useful. You really need to finish a couple bulk items to really get some of his damage actually going. If you just kind of have pieces of things, you really don't contribute a ton of damage to fights. It is kind of an unfortunate drawback to Ezreal, but that's luckily not a problem this game. Farm is okay right now, but it's those kills that are really helpful, and these objectives that we're getting that are really helping, you know, me stay ahead of the curve as an ADC. If you fall behind as Ezreal, you're gonna have a bad time. So that's a few things about not so good about him. He falls off a tiny bit late game. You can have mana problems with him. Kind of a con, but just don't be stupid about your mana. We'll talk about ways we can work with that too in a second. I know some people are going to ask right now, well, you're mentioning mana. Why don't we get the, what's the Essence Reaver, the mana item? It's not very gold effective. It's not a good item. Yeah, it just doesn't work too well. It might work on a couple other champions. I wanted it to work with Ezreal, but it just doesn't seem to fit in a good spot when you're actually building items, because you really want your try, and you really want to get the Infinity Edge, which I've just finished off. The combination of those two items actually are quite huge. You get a good amount of crit chance from the two of them because Trinity Force has the Zeal built into it, and then obviously you're going to be getting more damage per crit because of the Infinity Edge, which gives you more crit chance, that crit damage, and just more attack damage in general. Another nice thing too is, as we'll talk about this with the items I'm going to be picking up, Mystic Shot, as I said, it strikes an enemy and it can do on-hit effects. And the next item we're going to be building will really benefit to that as well. So just kind of nice that your Mystic Shot does all those things. And your Massive Poke is another positive actually to Ezreal, which is, you know, that Mystic Shot. You have good poke, but here comes another con, and we kind of went over this. Everything he has is a skill shot for the most part, so you got to be careful about this. So that's just a few things you run into with Ezreal. So if you miss all your skill shots, or you're terrible with skill shots, you're just gonna seriously once again, you're gonna have a bad time. You're not gonna land damage. It's not gonna happen. I mean, your autos will still have the Sheen proc, which is great. If you're missing everything, but yeah, other than that, it's not the greatest to be missing everything. So kind of unfortunate. Get into a bit of a fight back and forth here. We picked up an assist, I believe. The Udyr's really trying to get to me. Took actually a bunch of damage there from the Viger. I'm unfortunately going to get killed by Nidalee in a second after I think we helped murder Draven. And then we jump in top of Viger as he stasises. We time the ult perfectly and kill him, but I take a spear to the face. And die. How sad. But yeah, that's what's going on. Now, we've started to build the next item. I picked up the Bilgewater, so we have some lifesteal now. We're going to be getting attack speed with this item. Obviously, we're building this into a Blade of the Ruined King. But, once again, the Blade of the Ruined King. One thing I like about it, some people think this is kind of, it's a choice here. You can either go Bloodthirster, the raw damage is nice, and the lifesteal is great. Bloodthirster used to be a standard on him, and actually it used to be a main first item on him just because the raw damage was so big, but then after they retooled all the ADC items, that's not the case. The reason I like Blade of the Ruined King is I think it gives them better dueling ability and chasing if you want to do that. Also good escape too, because you have the built-in active, which, you know, obviously steals the health, does all that damage, and lowers their movement speed for the 3 seconds, which is super, super helpful. So, that is why I like to build it. It helps me live, it helps me kill, it helps all that fun stuff. Getting pretty low while taking Baron. Picked up a kill on Udyr as he roamed in. Baron's super low and hasn't regen, so we're just going to do this. Luckily, we do pick this up. A mistimed smite from Nautilus made it scary for a second, but we're going to... I think we're going to get murdered here, probably. I don't know. Pick up a couple assists. Are we going to run away? We're going to run away. No, I'm going to die now. I got a kill and then died. Okay. But yeah, Blade of the Ruined King, I like a little bit more for the dueling. But if you want to go safe and you just want something standard with the damage and lifesteal, you can also do a Bloodthirster. Both of these are completely fine. Pick the one that you like more. Obviously, I get the attack speed from Blade of the Ruined King, which is nice, and I get that that proc for the percentage health damage done to them, which also is procced on that Mystic Shot, because as we've stated, it does apply on-hit effects, and that is an on-hit effect. So, isn't it an on-hit effect? Doesn't that count? I believe that counts. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But yeah, so let's go over more pros, because we still have some more pros. So, more pros. He can get the team the attack speed steroid. We kind of talked about that. Global Ultimate is kind of nice. It helps secure a few kills across the map. It'll help you clear waves if you really need to. I wouldn't use it on it all the time. But it's not on the world's longest cooldown. And yeah, that's pretty much. We covered the other ones too with a long-range poke and the Mystic Shots on hit effects with the procs. That's super helpful. It works for other weird items. That's why Blue Build Ezreal used to work really well, but after nerfing the items, it doesn't work really anymore, so I would not try it. But yeah. Now, as for runes and masteries, we'll go over those because it's about that time. Now, as for the runes, I like to take attack damage marks, health seals or armor seals, depending on what you want to feel, or a little bit of both. I believe I take the magic resist per level glyphs still, actually. And then I take flat attack damage quintessences. Gives me a lot of early damage early, which is me saying early twice, but whatever. And it makes those Qs just really hurt early. So if you land a lot of your mystic shots, you're going to deal a lot of damage early. But that costs the mana, which is why you got to be a little bit careful with it. Now, because of the mana costs, we build a little bit of a different page. Get into a bit of a fight, gonna pick up a ton of assists. But because of the mana costs, we take a little bit of a different mastery page. What we do is we go 21, I believe, is it 4-5 or 5-4? There's a picture of it in the lower right corner right now. It just gives us a little bit of mana regen, and that little bit does actually go a long way. So that is what we do with our masteries. We also take that page for like Corky, because he kind of is a little mana heavy early on, and I think he's the other one. I don't think there's any others, but those two I call them. I call it ADC caster, because you cast a lot of abilities while you are laning for multiple reasons. So that is what we take for our masteries page. It seems to work out quite well. Now, as this game's continued, we have finished off our Blade of the Ruined King, and then usually after that, you want to get some type of magic or armor penetration. So what we have done to do so is we've picked up a Last Whisper. Pretty good item. Luckily, or not luckily, kind of unfortunately really, they're not really building a lot of armor, so it's not technically perfect this game, but it's just kind of a sample. You know, I just kind of make my builds sample-like. And Udyr's getting some armor, so we'll tear through him, which is helpful because he's the one trying to run me down most of the time. So here we pick up an assist on Blitzcrank, and the game's going to end. I don't know why, but the replay time's out. Everything you need to know, though, is in the description, as it always is. We're actually just about ready to march in their base and end the game. There's literally like 30 seconds left to this. But yeah, that's going to be a build for Ezreal. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and I'll just see all of you guys in the next build video. Here, yep, you can always hook them to kind of slow them down, even though it drags them towards you, but they can't control themselves. There we go, we get hooked. We're going to flay, drop the box, we can get Thresh stuck in it. Our Vayne doing work. She's going to pick up the triple kill. I am going to, this is us being greedy. He's going to come back in. I told him, hey, we can just try it, see if you get hit. He gets hit once, but, you know, whatever. We had it all cleaned up. Here, we're just going to, you know, a little flag, get her out of that ultimate, although that was a little bit delayed on my part to do it. We use the locket of the Iron Solari, so we get a little bit of a shield, just to make sure we don't take too much damage, but she's going to die as well.